Alright, welcome back to WMAC Now with your host Chuck Stevenson, coming at you with a special fight review. This time we're going to Las Vegas, Nevada, UFC 246. We're going to the flyweight division. Roxanne the Happy Warrior Modaferri coming in 23-16, facing Maycee the Future Barber coming in at 8-0. So, before they even started, the fighters are in their corners, and one thing you notice about Roxanne Modaferri is that she's squinting, and she's not squinting like a determined squint, like ooh yeah, like making a mean face. No, she's squinting because you realize her vision is that bad, she's that nearsighted that she's like struggling to see. It's just something you notice every time she fights, or something that I notice every time she fights, and I just wanted to point it out here. So they come out. And they're sizing each other up. They're throwing out some strikes a little bit. Each of them are getting some hits in. Modaferri clinches real quick, and they're battling in the clinch a little bit. But then Barber shrugs her off. So then they're circling around each other a little more. Roxanne's doing smart, staying on the outside, and she's starting to find a home for a strike. She lands a nice right hand. And then a little bit later, she lands a left jab. And then about a minute in, she clinches again, gets the takedown right into the side control of Barber. From there, they're in a little bit of a grappling battle, mostly with Modaferri staying in Barber's, not side control, I'm sorry, half guard. She landed in half guard. And from there was where most of the round played out, was with Modaferri in Barber's half guard. And occasional short strikes, mostly lob them to the body. Occasionally she'd try to pass. At one point, Barber tried to go for a guillotine, which, I mean, she had it on, but it wasn't like and she wasn't going to really get it from half guard like that. Scramble initiated. Barber turned over. Roxy tried to get onto her back, but was a little too high. And then the round ended with Barber able to get into the guard of Roxanne Modaferri. Okay, so the second round starts, and less than 10 seconds in, Modaferri hits Barber with a jab. Barber eats it and like staggers a little bit, and then it looks like her knee gives out a little bit on there. And she falls. Modaferri follows her down, tries to get into her guard. Barber's trying to fend her off, trying to keep her from getting a guard. Modaferri's able to pass to side control. From there, she starts working up and works towards the crucifix, gets the crucifix, lands a couple elbows to Barber's body, not so much to the head. From there, she's then able to pass to full mount, gets full mount on Barber, starts fighting off Barber's wrist control, lands some punches, and then lands one elbow and then a really hard elbow. You could hear it, and it opens up a cut on Barber's head. However, when Modaferri landed that big elbow on Barber's head, she lost positioning, and Barber was then able to get into the guard of Modaferri. From there, Barber started landing some hard elbows herself a little bit, but then Modaferri, at about the 3.5 minute mark, swept her to mount, and then Barber rolled over to her belly, and Roxanne started to land some Donkey Kong style elbows to Barber's head there, which prompted Barber to roll back over. From there, it was basically just the rest of the round was again completely Modaferri's. Moved around different positions, went to north-south, then side control, and then was back to guard at the end, standing over Barber, landing some kicks to Barber's leg as Barber was laying back. Arguably 10-8 round Modaferri. Okay, so the third round starts, and they're striking, and Modaferri's landing her punches very easily now. Not only because Barber has her chin out there and her guard isn't very good, but also, she's standing back on her left leg, the knee that gave out, and you can tell that it's bothering her, and she's not able to absorb the strikes because she has no leg to stand on. and Modaferri is able to back her up to the fence, and she's landing strikes, and then they go grapple, and Modaferri is able to get Barber to the ground easily, possibly because Barber's knee gave out again, possibly. So she gets him to the ground, and she starts working from the half guard again. And after a little bit of that, of grappling in the half guard and landing a little bit of strikes, Barber's able to kind of sweep Modaferri off of her and gets into then Barber is in Modaferri's half guard, and she starts landing some good elbows. So Modaferri wisely is able to get to the cage, work her way up, gets to her feet, Barber's still on her knees, and so Modaferri sprawls hard on Barber, gets her down, and then pressures her back and gets into the half guard again of Barber. And from there, the rest of the third round really just plays out with Modaferri in Barber's half guard, landing strikes, and various hand battles. So it goes to the judges' scorecard. Two of the judges give it to Modaferri 30-27. One of them gives it to her 30-26. I looked it up, and that particular judge, Dave Hagen, did give Modaferri a 10-8 second round. So your winner by unanimous decision, Maycee Barber, Roxanne Modaferri, of course. So things to work on. So for Barber, well, first, apparently she suffered a complete tear of her ACL. It seemed, that they brought in a doctor between the second and third round, had her lay down, stretch her leg out, gave her what apparently is called a Lachman test. He can use his hand to basically gauge where there's tissue and not. I'm not sure how it works. I'm not a medical professional. He said a partial tear, but she'll be fine. I think she tore the rest of it in the third round, possibly. Anyway, so she's going to be out, according to her dad, about 9 months. So, that's obviously the first thing to work on is just recovery. But the biggest thing she has to work on once she's able to get back into the gym is going to be fundamentals. She just doesn't have good fundamentals really anywhere. I mean, she's big, she's strong, she's athletic, but that's only going to carry you so far. And you saw that in this fight here, where she met Roxanne Modaferri, who is also not known for being strong, but she has worked on her strength and conditioning, and she's skilled and she's experienced, and basically the natural abilities of Barber met their end here. So we see now what Barber's ceiling is, which, I mean, Modaferri's like right outside the top 5 maybe, so that's still pretty darn good. But she needs to work on those fundamentals. As for Modaferri, I mean, she had basically a flawless performance. She got swept a couple times, mostly due to the sheer strength of Maycee Barber. I mean, hey, you can sweep Roxanne Modaferri, whether it's strength or skill. That's still pretty good, though. As for matches to make, so for Barber, she's out for a good while. As for Modaferri, it's going to be tough to match her up because she's like just outside the top 5, I think, right now. And most of those other fighters are booked, or she's faced them before. I'm going to have to really think about this one a little bit more. I haven't been able to give it too much thought as to who she can face. But I think she's a threat to basically everyone outside the top 5 and is competitive against everyone within the top 5. So either way, it's going to be an interesting matchup for her. Anyway, those are my thoughts on the fight. Let me know what you thought about it in the comments down below. Of course, likes are always appreciated. And what are you waiting for? Subscribe to WMMA now, fastest growing women's mixed martial arts dedicated platform on YouTube. Don't forget to hit that bell for notifications. You'd be a lot cooler if you did. And we'll see you next time.